Hi, everyone. I'm David Griffin, your resident comic book and video game guru, here to bring you another review of Arrow. We're going to do two reviews, kind of going to mash them into one. Going to look at last week's episode of Blind Spot and this week's episode of Tremors, two, outstanding episodes in Arrow. If you're wondering where Michael is, he's feeling a little bit under the weather, and last week I was out of town, so again, bad timing, life gets in the way, that's how it is. So it's just going to be me this week, so hopefully we can have some fun talking about Arrow this week. I want to start off first, though, by talking about three of maybe characters who've kind of been pushed to the side, characters that used to be interesting that aren't really as interesting as I think they could be. Those three characters are Laurel, Diggle, and Moira. Moira definitely in this week's episode became a lot more essential now that she's running for mayor. And because, like when Malcolm Merlyn showed up again this season, he's back, it's like, okay, he's back, he's not dead. And we found out that she has some connections to Ra's al Ghul, maybe she knows who he is, like she can get word to him. Like, what's Moira's game? I mean, she's playing the mom who, loves her kids and wants to do better, but like, for what? Like, what does that all mean? I mean, is she really gonna end up being the good person that she wants to be, or is she got some dark side to her? I think she has a little bit of both. She's a very interesting character. So I was happy to see Moira kind of step up this week, have something interesting to do. But then let's move on to Diggle. I was, like I said, I was out of town last week visiting family, and I was watching the episode with my dad. And he had never seen Arrow before, but he saw Diggle, and he looked at it and he said, well, what does this guy just do? He just stand around and just kind of watch? And I was like, that's a good point. Diggle doesn't really do much. Ever since the episode earlier this season where, he and Ollie went to that prison to find Deadshot, since then, Diggle hasn't been essential to the story at all. He just kind of he kind of stands on the side of the desk like this and just kind of looks. I mean, that's all he does. He's not doing anything. And I love Diggle. I think Diggle's a great character. The first season, he had a lot of good things to do. This season, Diggle's kind of useless, which is just too bad. I mean, I don't know. What do you think? I mean, I like Diggle. You like Diggle. Would you like to see him do more? I know Mike and I have kind of complained about this in the past. I thought maybe they're going to give him more, but they haven't. Also, moving on from Diggle, let's talk about Laurel. Probably the most disappointing character of Arrow, I would say this season. Laurel has been on a downward spiral, drinking, drugs, pushes away her dad, won't even go to the AA meeting. I mean, just all this negativity around her, but what's it for? I mean, is she, Mike had a really good theory. I know some of you had shared that theory. Laurel is tied to the comics. Could she become Black Canary? Maybe her sister will die. I don't know. Maybe she needs something to do, though. She needs, what do you think about that theory? Laurel right now is just all over the place. She has nothing going for her. She's probably going to get disbarred. Did she see her sister at the end of the episode this week? Did she, I don't know. She was kind of having some weird visions. Was that her sister? Can her sister come and save her? Will her sister, who is Canary now, will she survive to the end of the season? Or will Laurel probably, take over and become Black Canary later? I don't know. But Laurel either needs to, I don't want her to die, but she needs to do something to get interesting again. I don't know. Let me know what you think. I always love to hear your opinion. So let me know what you think about Laurel's character. Okay, so let's get away from the minor characters that have not been that interesting lately to talk about. Let's go to the ending first of this episode. That's probably one of the most interesting parts. Let's talk about Amanda Waller, Cynthia Dye Robinson, a.k.a. Navia, a.k.a. Nuvia from Spartacus. Love her. Glad she's on the show as Amanda Waller. She is going to form the Suicide Squad, and she's going to start off with Bronze Tiger, Michael J. White, a.k.a. Spawn, for those of you who remember that kind of awful movie with John Leguizamo, but that's okay, it's another story. It's cool to see Amanda Waller talk about forming the squad. She didn't call it the Suicide Squad, but that's what Amanda Waller does, at least in the comics nowadays. She is the head of, the Suicide Squad, which, for those of you who don't know, is a group of supervillains who Amanda Waller hires to, if they want like a reduced sentence time in prison, work for me, they're kind of anti-heroes, like do some good, and we'll see, what goes from there. So, okay, let's pull back. I know I'm jumping around a lot here, but there's just so much, everything, kind of ties in, how Arrow goes, just builds and builds and builds. Let's go last week to a Blind Spot, and I think probably the biggest shocker of that one was the reveal of Deathstroke, even though, of course, we know Slade Wilson is in Sterling City. We know that. We saw that at the mid-season finale, so we know he's around, but it was cool. We finally got to see him all in the, I guess you want to call it contemporary, what is it, orange and gray militant suit. You know, we see it in Batman Arkham Origins. For those of you who played that game, we see it in Injustice, Gods Among Us, you know, the new fighting game from DC. So it was great to see Manu Bennett, you know, another Spartacus veteran, Slade Wilson dressed all in the orange and gray. That was just a great look for him. He looked great in the outfit. Really cool. The season just keeps, you know, building and building, doing a better job. I know that Michael and I know a lot of you too, kind of complained a little bit and didn't really enjoy the first, I guess you're going to call it what, the mid-season premiere about 3 weeks ago. The episode was, I guess, a little bit weaker. I think these two have stepped it up, especially this newest one really stepped it up. Just so many good things. I mean, Moira running for mayor, what is that going to mean? Okay, so I guess the next big thing, let's talk about Roy. Roy Harper is, you know, he's on a rampage. I mean, the dude's got, you know, all that venom flowing inside of him. He's angry, you know, doing like Slade Wilson is on the island, like, you know, we do the flashbacks to Manu and see him, what he's going through. Roy's going through that too. And again, another big reveal. Imagine that, a big reveal in Arrow is Roy now knows who Oliver is. He knows that Oliver Queen is Arrow. He's met the team, you know. I mean, you know, I love Oliver's little thing about saying, you know, it's like we don't call ourselves Team Arrow, but, you know, of course, you know, that's their name. They are Team Arrow. You know, they have a team, they have a squad. Hopefully Diggle will do something in the squad. I don't know. Diggle, again, it's been a disappointment for me. Moira stepping up, though. Laurel, I don't know. I could kind of leave her right now. Do you think there's redemption for her? Do you think they're going to, like, you think they're just bringing her low just to build her back up, make her Black Canary at the end of the season? I don't know. I want to talk about, too, before we wrap this up, about Deathstroke. And I think this season, and I'm sure maybe probably some of you agree with me, is leading up to a Deathstroke and Arrow, you know, big battle at the end, a big clash at the end. But what I wonder is, in that clash, could Deathstroke kind of, you know, not has to die, but maybe come back from that? Because Deathstroke's kind of one of those in-between guys. Like, sometimes he's good, sometimes he's bad. He's an anti-hero for sure. He's not always just like a pure bad. He's not the Joker. He's not the ultimate bad guy. So maybe Manu Bennett can stick around even after, let's say, like Ollie and him fight at the end. I hope that they keep Deathstroke around. He's a really cool character. Again, you know, switching stuff again. I know we're bouncing around a lot. Let's go back to last week episode, you know, and let's talk about Brother Blood, who has been an interesting character. He's kind of off the hook now in terms of people not thinking he's guilty. He set one of his boys in there to take the fall for him, to make a sacrifice. But we know that he's under the thumb of Deathstroke. Deathstroke has him in his grip. But who is Deathstroke? Who is Slade Wilson working for? Who is Manu Bennett working for? We kind of know the hierarchy right now. I think Ra's al Ghul is behind all of this. I'm just going to throw that out there. I mean, Manu could be working for himself, but I think behind this, I think Ra's al Ghul is going to show up at some point, maybe next season. I don't know if they'll ever cast him. Of course, we have the Flash pilot coming out in the fall of 2014, which should be awesome. Can't wait to see that. So, I mean, that's most of it. That's I know there's so much stuff to talk about. All of you guys like to point and gals like to point out Easter eggs for Mike and I. So please share some more Easter eggs from the episode. There was one that I saw. I think the city or the town, no, sorry, the country, the made-up country in Europe is called Markovia, that the terrorist was selling the Merlin's earthquake device to, and that's an actual, you know, a fictional creation that DC, you know, DC has all these crazy names for all these, you know, foreign countries. And so that was one of those little Easter eggs. You know, share your Easter eggs with Mike and I. Of course, we'll be back next week to give you another review as always. But, you know, again, I always like to hear your thoughts on this week's episode of Arrow and, of course, last week's as well. As always, you know, come chat with us on thinkhero.com. You can also find us on this YouTube page right here, Think Hero Pro. You know, comment below, like, subscribe, you know, spread the word. You know, just let us know what you thought of the video. Let us know what you think about Arrow. What are you loving right now? You know, I just love to hear your thoughts on that. Also on Twitter, if you talk to Dennis, Michael, and myself, talk to us about anything on right now, TV, movies, video games, comics, what are you liking? We're at Think Hero. Personally, I'm at GriffinDE. And we also have a Facebook page. That's facebook.com/ThinkHeroFans.